shrapnel of a deal can be very injurious to the overall core of another deal.
In February of 2025, you said, we invented streaming, and what did we do with it? We didn't license it, we sold it, we gave it away. Elaborate on that, if you don't mind.
The media rights in sports are like any other gradient. How are we doing? Adam goes into the marketplace.
You're talking about Adam Silver?
Yeah, Adam,
in the
I'm
NBA?
sorry, Adam
Okay.
Silver, yeah. I met Adam once at a Warriors game, and I was thoroughly impressed with this man.
The commissioner.
Yeah, he was talking to someone who knows so little about basketball, and yet we had a great conversation. But the idea of it is that, what did he do? Lesser ratings, half the content of baseball, and he got a valuation that was double of baseball? That, in and of itself, tells you that our media rights and the valuation of them and how we negotiate that evaluation of them needs to be altered, adjusted, reformed, looked at. And what I was speaking to was that the hardware for streaming was created by an MLB BAM entity. And they ironically sold it to Disney, and each owner got like $50 million. So when we have a reason for the RSN valuations viability to be depleted because of streaming, one way or another, first notice of this was in the hands of one sport, MLB. And how you advance from there with your media rights negotiations is something that they kept on an individual scale by team versus what other leagues did in a collective measure negotiated with platforms. And all I can say is that we now know that when you have greater content, double, and you have greater ratings, you should get a lot more than someone who has half the content and lesser ratings. That tells me, all right, in our next round of negotiations in 27, 28, the platforms and what we're doing and how they're doing it, they have models to work off of, which should dramatically advance the rights value of baseball teams.
And ESPN recently opted out of its Major League Baseball contract. Some have suggested reach and promotion should be prioritized these next few years over getting top dollar for the period between now and 28. What's your perspective on that?
The first of all is that, where did ESPN's opt-out come from? Why did they opt out? Who put the opt-out in the contract? Because you see, in media rights negotiation, I am not a media rights expert. I sit with many people at Dodger Stadium who are in these fields, and they tell me that they want long-term contracts. So when you have an opt-out, though, and you know that you're severing something that has 3 years to go, you kind of know that no platform is going to bid on you for a short-term 3 years. So what do you see? I assume you see that we'll opt out, knowing I can get the same rights for a lot less. I question how an opt-out, particularly at a critical time, knowing all those things, would in any way aid Major League Baseball. If not, it would be a very, very critical negative to an agreement to allow that to happen.
In my understanding, from ESPN's perspective, they saw these smaller streaming deals done for a lot less money with the Rokus and the Apples of the world, where then they're being undercut from an advertising perspective for baseball by these other media partners who, have a much smaller amount they need to cover.
The shrapnel of a deal can be very injurious to the overall core of another deal.
If you were handling it, you would do what?
The platforms are begging for content. Baseball is in such a wonderful position because they have like times 12 or 10 of the NFL content. The NFL is an event sport. It's once a week. We provide drama and live sport entertainment, which means so much to the ownership of a franchise. Why? Because you have the ability, particularly in a summer months and where there's a void, where you can provide true drama, a true script where it's unknown. Baseball is such a great sport because the lesser team can beat the greater team all the time. You never know, because that's how the game works. And then when you think about the content management, the basis of what all these platforms want, they want the league. They don't want the individual team. They want the league choices so that they can optimize their platform. And I think that collectively the owners have to decide to do what other platforms have done to create this massive value. Because obviously they're buying content. Our per hour valuation exceeds any of the majors. Basketball is half, football is 20%, but our per hour content availability, that is how this thing should be negotiated in my mind.